I'm going to share with you 3 key factors that you can apply that will help you to lead with confidence, influence, and impact, and to be able to lead, to lead yourself and to direct your life, your career, your business in the way that you want to. And so the 3 key factors that I'm going to share are self-awareness, self-belief, and self-management. And these combined will, when you put into practice what I say, will enable you to feel more confident within yourself and to be more in control of yourself and the direction that you are going. Because if you think of leaders that you admire, think of great leaders that you admire, and you see how much they are in control of their lives, in control of what they're doing, and for them to be a great leader, they have to be able to lead themselves. When you think of leaders who are not like that, leaders who let their emotions get in the way, they let themselves get in the way, they self-sabotage because they're not very great at self-leadership. And when it comes to self-awareness, I think that self-awareness is the key to so much else in terms of our knowing ourselves, how successful we are, because without a high level of self-awareness, we don't know how and why we're behaving the way that we do, how and why we respond to situations the way that we do, or how and why other people respond to us the way that they do. So self-awareness is the key to opening so much more when it comes to being an effective leader. And we can increase our self-awareness through self-reflection, through reflecting on why we respond to situations the way that we do, why people respond to us the way that they do. And to give you an example of how someone who lacks self-awareness, the impact it was having on them and their role as a leader, I had a client who was a perfectionist, and she was an outward perfectionist. And by outward, I mean that she had very high expectations of other people. And if they didn't meet her expectations, she wouldn't be happy. And so she was like that with her team. She expected perfection from them. But, perfection is unattainable. And so this put a lot of pressure on her team. And as a result, her team didn't engage with her. They would avoid her. She wasn't able to build a rapport with them, but she couldn't see that it was because she was a perfectionist, and that was the impact that she was having on the team, because she didn't have that level of self-awareness. And she would think that they got paid to do a job, so she didn't really give them a lot of praise, and she would say, well, they've done what they're supposed to do. And the relationship between her and her team is very tense. And once I was highlighted this to her through the coaching, she was able to reflect on how she was, on her behaviours, and why they responded the way that she did. And she recognized that, yes, she was being too harsh on them. She was striving for perfection, and expecting them to achieve an impossible standard. And that had a lot to do with some of her insecurities that she had about herself, which I will touch on a bit when we look at self-belief. And so increasing your self-awareness, you can do through self-reflection. A great way to self-reflect is through journaling. How many of you journal? Please let me know in the chat. How many of you journal? Journaling is a great way just to examine your thoughts, your feelings, why you've responded to something the way that you did, why you reacted the way that you did to something, and learning from it and growing from it as well. Journaling is something that I do on a regular basis because it really helps me to learn about myself and for me to grow. Another way that you can self-reflect is by making sure that you put time in your calendar on a regular basis just to have some reflection time. Some of us get so caught up in the busyness of life and work that we don't really stop to think about what we're thinking about. So we've got a comment here, Catherine started, but that was the first thing to go once things became too busy. And yes, that is what happens. We become too busy that we don't do those things that are actually going to give us that headspace to enable us to increase our capacity. So making regular time for self-reflection is very important. And one thing that I suggest to a lot of my clients is they put it in their calendar like they would a meeting, and they give it priority. Because when you give yourself that space just to step off that treadmill of life and work, it enables you just to sit back and reflect and get an overview of what is going on for you and what is going on for your life and in your work. But when you're always on the go, those thoughts can ruminate in our minds that are not helping us, that let us get in our own way. But investing time and space in self-reflection, you will reap dividends for it. And as Catherine has said, and like many of us said, that is often the first thing to go when we're busy, because it seems counterproductive that we stop when we've got so much to do. But it sounds counterproductive, but it actually is an investment in increasing your capacity and giving you that space to clear your head and have that head time. So book some time in your diary for regular self-reflection. The other thing in which you can help do to increase your self-awareness is through feedback. And many of us don't like getting feedback because we don't want to have criticism. We don't want people to tell us things that we don't want to hear. But feedback can be quite a powerful tool in our development and helping us to grow. But it has to be constructive. So if you're getting feedback from somebody and it is not constructive, it is not helpful, ask them if they can be more specific in giving you examples about your behavior or why people have responded to you the way that they did. So in the case of the client that I mentioned, by me giving her that feedback through the coaching, she was able to see why her team were not engaging with her, why they were almost in fear of her. They were not empowered to go over and above. They would do what they had to do, but there was no relationship there. And that feedback enabled her to look at herself and to see how she could change what she did and become a better leader and to become a self-leader. And the third thing in regards to increasing your self-awareness is being aware and observing your bodily sensations. So when you're in situations and you may react a particular way, and you're wondering, well, why am I acting this way, or why am I behaving this way? Why are people acting like this towards me? Be aware of what is going on for you physiologically. So be aware of the bodily sensations, whether it's the tensions, whether it's the sweaty palms, whether it's the fast heart beating. Be aware of what is happening in your body, and then examine, well, why is that happening for you, and look at what is going on in your mind. To do like a body scan of your bodily sensations and how your body feels, because that can help you to increase your self-awareness in terms of why you're reacting to situations the way that you do. And so looking on to the second thing, which is self-belief, and this one is a biggie. Imposter syndrome, self-doubt is something that, I see many men, women, introverts, extroverts, experiencing self-doubt, a lack of self-belief. But to be a self-leader and to be a great leader, you need to have self-belief. You need to have a high level of self-belief. When it comes to imposter syndrome, the research suggests that 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some time, and that is very high. I was on delivering a workshop on Tuesday, and I did a poll, and 93% of people that were on that workshop said that they experienced imposter syndrome. And I'm going to do the same with you. There's a poll, and I'm going to ask you to do the poll and let me know whether you experience imposter syndrome. So please do the poll and let's see whether the research is reflective of who we have online. And I suspect that it may be even more, because it is something which is very common, but oftentimes people don't talk about it. So what have we got? 72%. It's something that many people experience, but because people don't often talk about how they experience it, it can be easy to think that it is just you. It can be easy to think that you're the only one. It's gone up to 76% now. So we're higher than what the research shows on this call. And I believe that if more people talked openly about experiencing self-doubt, experiencing imposter syndrome, particularly people who are at a senior level, it would remove some of the stigma, and it would take some of the pressure off people. And when I was doing my research for my book, Quietly Visible, I surveyed introverted women who were senior leaders, and 73% said that they experienced self-doubt. And to look at these women, they had great careers, they were senior leaders, they were doing really well. But in the inside, they doubted themselves, and that affected their confidence, and they experienced imposter syndrome. So Monique said, is imposter syndrome necessary, for lack of a better word, to experience in order to develop and grow? It isn't necessary, because it can be quite crippling for some people. But once you are able to manage it and not let it get the better of you, then it doesn't hold you back. It holds a lot of people back, or it puts a lot of pressure on them to doubt themselves, because that's what it is. Imposter syndrome is a chronic self-doubt, and it's a feeling that you're a fraud, that you're going to get found out. So it's often experienced by high achievers, so people who are high achievers. So if you get experiencing imposter syndrome, chances are you're a high achiever. If you are in the minority to the dominant group, so you may be a woman in a male-dominated environment, you may be a person of color in a white environment, you may be someone from a socioeconomically disadvantaged background in a privileged environment. When you're in the minority to the dominant group, then you are more likely to experience it than if you are not. And imposter syndrome often stems from our early life experiences, where we're made to feel like we're not good enough, or you may have been put on a pedestal, and your parents or carers had high expectations of you, which you find you've not been able to live up to. And then as you've grown, you've put a lot of pressure on yourself and doubt yourself. And oftentimes that is where it's got its roots in. So I had a client who was in her 40s, and she could pinpoint, once we started the coaching, that when she was 12 years old, she had done an exam at school, a test at school, and she got a B, and she ran home to tell her parents, and her dad said to her, "A B? How comes you only got a B? Why comes you didn't get an A?" And she said that stuck with her. And as a result of that, she was always doubting herself, and imposter syndrome was very crippling for her, and it impacted her confidence and her belief in herself. And we're very much led by our emotions, and the way that we think affects how we feel. And for many of us, we act and behave according to how we're feeling. And that is often as a result of the thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves, the situations that we're in, something that we need to do. And as a result of how we feel, we become anxious. And because we're feeling anxious about it, we don't do what we need to do or want to do, or we do it, but because of how we're feeling, we don't do it to the best of our ability. I had another client who English was not her first language, and she had climbed up the career ladder, doing really, really well. And when it came to meetings, she found it hard to speak up. And so she wouldn't say what she wanted to say. As a result, she wasn't having the influence and impact that she wanted. And people were often running with her ideas. And the reason for this was because she had an accent and she felt that people wouldn't understand her. And I said to her, well, what makes you think that? Has anybody ever told you that? Nobody had ever told her that. And it turned out that she spoke. I asked her, well, how many languages can you speak? And she said 5. And I said, how many languages can the people at the table that you're in the meetings that you are speak? And she said 1. And that helped her to put things into perspective, because I helped her to recognize that just because English wasn't her first language, it was only natural that she would have an accent. And nobody had actually said to her they didn't understand what she was saying. Once she looked at it from a rational perspective like that, it helped to change how she felt. And as a result of changing how she felt, she changed how she acted and behaved. So if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, you're doubting yourself, you lacking that self-belief that enables you to be bold and confident and courageous in what it is that you need to do, challenge your thoughts and beliefs, rationalize them, and change them to something which is more helpful. And when you are in a situation and you know there's something that you need to do, but you're not doing it because you're doubting yourself or you're feeling so anxious about what you need to do, just pause and examine what is going on in your mind, and then challenge it. You may find it helpful to write down what it is that you're thinking, and then write down corresponding words which are more helpful and which are more rational about the situation. And that will help to change how you feel, because if you can change how you feel, you change how you act and behave. And sometimes we notice the physiological symptoms before we notice what is going on in our minds. And so for some people, it's a tight knot in their stomach, it's a tension in their shoulders, in their head, their palms get sweaty, their heart beats fast, they blush. If you notice those physiological symptoms, when it's about something that you need to do, and you're starting to doubt yourself, when you notice them, just examine what is going on in your mind, and then just challenge what you're thinking and what you're believing about yourself. And ask yourself, if the worst was to happen, what could you do? And if that was to happen, what could you do about that? And chances are that you will be able to think of a solution as to what you could do if the worst was to happen. And the worst may not even happen anyway. And this all ties in with self-awareness, because when you have a high level of self-awareness, it's easy to identify when you are self-sabotaging in that way. And I remember experiencing imposter syndrome. There's 2 significant occasions in my career where I experienced imposter syndrome that really sort of stand out. There's probably many more times, but these 2 times really stand out. The first time was before I started my coaching business 10 years ago. I worked as a leader in an organization. I'd started off in a very junior role, worked my way up to a senior leader, and I got promoted from a junior leader to a senior leader in quite a short space of time. And I thought to myself, they're going to realize they've made a mistake. They shouldn't have given me this promotion. And I was expecting to get an email or a phone call at any time to say, Carol, we're really sorry, but we shouldn't have promoted you. Because of my high level of self-awareness and the work that I'd done on my self-development over the years, I quickly recognized that I was self-sabotaging. And so what I did, I said to myself, okay, they believe that I can do the role. I need to believe it myself. So what I did was I sat down, I went through my job description to see what it was that I was struggling with. And there were just two things on the job description. I had a really long job description, lots and lots of tasks, but there was just two things that I was struggling with. And once I was able to pinpoint what they were, I was able to get the support that I needed to bring myself up to speed. And once I did that, I felt okay about it. The second significant time when I experienced imposter syndrome was just before I published my book. I'd done the manuscript, sent it off to the publisher, and then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, people are going to think, who does she think she is writing about this topic? And again, because of the work that I'd done on my self-development and my high level of self-awareness, I recognized I was self-sabotaging. And I said to myself, well, since I've been started my business and blogging, I've been getting great reviews about my writing. I've made some quite impressive publications, and I've been named a LinkedIn top voice. I've been named a LinkedIn top voice 5 times, and that is as a result of the articles that I publish on LinkedIn. And so by me putting the things into perspective, that helped me to rationalize my thoughts and beliefs about writing my book and helped me to manage the imposter syndrome. So remember, the way that we think affects how we feel, and we act and behave according to how we're feeling. And so if you're doubting yourself, imposter syndrome is rearing its head, just challenge your thoughts and beliefs, change them to something more helpful, because if you change how you feel, you change how you act and behave, and you'll be more confident with a higher level of self-belief. And the third thing in terms of self-leadership is self-management. And that is about being able to manage your emotions, manage how you move forward. And self-regulation is something that can help you to manage those emotions, manage how you respond to stress, how you react to situations. And when you're in a situation that causes you stress or causes you to want to respond emotionally, just pause before reacting. I've got a comment. I don't think it's necessary, but we are trained to feel it as a society. So could you just say, I'm not sure if there's been a delay in your chat coming through, but if you could just explain, well, I don't think it's necessary, but we are trained to feel it. What you mean by that, please, Rachel, and then I can respond to that. So regulate your emotions. Being able to regulate and being in control of your emotions helps you to be more self-leadership. Oh, sorry. Oh, it was in reference to the question Monique put in the chat. No, that's okay. So self-regulation, and that will help you to manage your emotions and how you respond to situations. And, you know, in life, we get so many knockbacks, so many setbacks, that how we respond to situations will determine how well or not we get through. And we can all choose how we respond. We can all choose how we think about ourselves, our situations, and that will determine how well or not we get through them. The second thing that I want to share about self-management is self-care, practicing self-care. So easy to get caught up in life and work and the busyness of it all that we don't practice self-care. And making sure that mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually that we are topped up in those areas will enable us to be at our optimal, will enable you to be at your best. So look at how you can stay topped up in those areas, how your mental energy, your emotional energy, your physical energy, and your spiritual energy, you can keep that high. Because when you're depleted in any of those areas, you will not be at your optimal. And one of the things that is often goes when we're busy that we cut back on instead of increasing is sleep. Sleep is so important because oftentimes it's that tiredness that causes us to doubt ourselves, that triggers that self-doubt or that lack of self-belief, that causes us not to be self-aware because we're so tired, we're not thinking rationally. And sometimes it might not even be that you feel like you want to go to sleep, but it's just that you've not been getting enough sleep. And it slows your cognition. So we're not as focused, we don't perform at our best. And oftentimes people think that when they're busy, they will work longer hours so that they can stay on top of things. That is actually counterproductive because the more hours you work, the less productive you become. And research suggests that people who work 55 hours a week, people who work 70 hours a week are no more productive than people who work 55 hours a week. So make sure that you are practicing self-care, you're getting the rest that you need, you're managing your energy, getting the sleep, and also that you are getting balance in your life. So that you are getting whatever balance is right for you. And in terms of your work, your life, your family, your friends, and doing things that bring you joy, getting the balance that is right for you. And remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And the final thing in terms of self-management is self-motivation. Being able to motivate yourself when the going gets tough, when you're feeling down, when you wake up on a Monday morning and you think, oh, I'm full of the Monday morning blues. Being able to self-motivate and just to move forward is what's needed for you to be a self-leader. And to be self-motivated, something that can help is having a big why. And when I say a big why, it's about having a purpose for what you do, and for why you do what you do that is bigger than you. And because that will mean when the going is tough and when you feel, oh, I can't be bothered, knowing that it's for a cause which is bigger than you helps to pick you up and helps to move you forward. And your big why is very subjective. What matters to me may not matter to you. What matters to you may not matter to me. For me, my big why is the work that I do and being able to make a difference in the lives of other people, to help people achieve their full potential and to see where they are not being all that they can be. That is my big why. And also think about your values, what those things that matter to you. Our values go to the core of who we are. And if we're not aligned to our values in our lives and in our work, we will feel dissatisfied, we will feel unfulfilled, it will be quite stressful as well. So look at your core values, make sure that you are aligned to your values. And if you're not sure what your values are, think about situations where you maybe feel offended or somebody causes you offense, because oftentimes it's because they've done something that goes against your core values. So be aligned to your values. And the final thing is take action. Don't sit around waiting for the motivation to come. Take action and the motivation will follow. So that, to wrap up, I've talked about how you can increase your self-awareness, how you can increase your self-belief by thinking about how you think, how you feel, how you act, and also about self-management. So regulating your emotions, practicing self-care, and being self-motivated.